How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthus here and welcome back to another video. So it's time to give you guys a little bit of an update and an overview of Korthia. It's starting to come together really nicely and it's becoming more and more apparent every time I spend some time out here that you're going to live in Korthia. The other four main zones, including even the default moor, is going to be relatively desolate come patch 9.1 because Blizzard are slowly but surely filling this area with a bunch of stuff. So I wanted to spend a few minutes today just going over some of the cool new things that they've added, taking a look at some of the vendors and the reputations that have been added to this zone, and just sort of like piece together some of the pieces of the puzzle that have been not so obvious for most up until this point. So let's talk firstly. There's two new reputations. One new reputation is called the Death's Advance. These guys, I've just dinged honoured with these guys. This is kind of the main core reputation for Korthia, and you will slowly but surely, by doing your daily quests, chip away at this, and there's some cool and interesting rewards. This is Duchess Minx. She is the quartermaster for this faction, and she sells some interesting stuff. When this was first implemented, there was next to nothing on here, but they fleshed it out nicely. So let's go through what you can get and let's talk about it in a little bit of detail and hopefully uncover some of the mysteries. Now, for the rest of this video, I will try and keep it as spoiler free as absolutely possible. I won't be talking about any storylines, but I mean, I guess you can kind of say that some of the rewards are sort of spoilery, so if you're not interested in any of that, I kind of suggest this maybe not be the video for you. But let's talk about what some of these factions have to offer. So the first thing to note, Korthian armaments. This is a big one, right? This is going to be our catch-up gear. Any of you guys that have been out there crushing your way through the moor on a semi-regular basis may or may not have a whole stack of Stygia lying about. If that's the case, you can turn in 1,000 Stygia and you can grab yourself one of these Korthian armaments. Now, these feel very Benthic-esque. Any of you that played in what I want to say patch 8.2 when Nazjatar was released and we had what was considered the Benthic lottery, you could basically buy tokens. You farmed up, back then you farmed up mana pearls. You used those mana pearls to buy Benthic tokens, and those tokens rolled into a random piece of gear. This is very similar. The difference is probably going to be that these Korthian armaments probably won't be best in slot items before you step into the raid, but you can upgrade these, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It is a random piece of loot that you get from these. There's no real way to sort of cherry pick exactly what it is you want. You can get duplicates. I've had duplicates, and the interesting thing, or the one factor that most people want to know really, is their item level 200. This is a good example of one. Razorwing Scale Fists, for example. This dropped out of one of the Korthian armaments, item level 200, but you'll see there is an upgrade option. We'll talk about the upgrading in a little bit. You can upgrade these all the way to item level 233 as it stands currently. You're going to have to do a serious amount of grinding in Korthia to be able to achieve that, and there is some element of time gating to it, so you're not going to be able to just power through from day one, unfortunately. But this is going to be a source of catch-up gear for you if you happen to have any spare Stygia lying around. Things to note, these Korthian armaments do drop off the rares that you're killing as you go around Korthia doing your dailies, so you don't have to rely solely on Stygia. There are other ways to get it. Additionally, they're bind on account, meaning that you can, you know, if you're fully geared or you're way above, send these over to your alts, open them up on your alts, get them some catch-up gear. Item level 200, really good start. There's a Vault Anima tracker. You can pick this up once you're honoured. Allows you to track and locate stolen anima vessels while on assaults in the moor. Simply just another way to get more anima. Anima is thrown at you if you spend any time in Korthia. It's very, very refreshing. You can see in my bags after only an hour or so of playing around in the Maw, I've got loads of these 5 tokens. I've got a bunch of the blue ones. There's even, I might have already turned them in, I think I might have done, but there's even some epic tokens you can pick up by killing some stuff as well. Loads of goodies out here. Anima is going, I wouldn't say Anima's going to be flooded to us, but it's a significant increase to what we've been. The drought is ended, let's put it that way. By the time 9.1 comes, the Anima drought is relatively a thing of the past, which is nice to see. For us crafters out there, Crafters Mark 3, which allows you to create item level 200 crafted gear, is available at Honoured. The one question that people are going to ask instantly is Death's Advance account wide? As far as I can tell, the answer is no. Secondly, how long does it take to get honoured? Well, by my testing, you get it pretty quickly. The intro quests are going to get you up to friendly. 1 or 2 days maybe of grinding out some of your daily quests, and bingo, you'll hit honoured. There is a weekly meta quest for Korthia that awards you 1200 reputation just by completing that, and I was able to bash that out in not very long at all, maybe an hour or so. That was really easy to do. So to get to honoured, if you really push, you should do this relatively quickly. This is going to be an alternative way for people to get their catch-up gear. Of course, this lot, you can sell it on the auction house. There is a downside though. The Crafters Mark 3 gear is going to be item level 200 and it will stay item level 200. There's no upgrade option for the crafted gear, so you may find some success selling this on the auction house, but Crafters Mark 3 is not going to be the thing that people are chasing straight away. We'll talk about the big one in a minute when we jump to the next faction. There's some other cool regular stuff that you'd expect to get. We've got the domestic Anakin. It's a pet. We get a pet. Cool. There's a bunch of mounts. Once you hit revered, there's a mount. Tabard exalted. No surprises there. There's a flying mount as and when you hit exalted. The quantity of the Stygia costs for these get pretty high, but Stygia also comes to you relatively fluidly when you're out in Korthia as well. So by the time you're exalted, the likelihood is that your Stygia will be flowing, no problems whatsoever. As long as you've not dumped it all on Korthian armaments to gear up all of your alts, you should be good to go when you actually hit exalted. There's the ensemble. You've actually got to do a whole bunch of this. Not only do you have to get exalted, you also have to hit renown 60. They have unlocked renown on the PTR. We're now able to start working up from 40 onwards. All indication seems to prove that it's still on the same sort of system, 2 or 3 renown each week. Next in the one is a battlefield swarmer harness. This requires you to not only be exalted, but also to have done the meta achievement on the offense. So get doing the assaults. The assaults are a new feature in the Maw come patch 9.1. They rotate every 2 or 3 days, I want to say. There's 4 different ones, 1 for each covenant. So get going on those, and you'll work your way towards the on the offense meta achievement. Shrouded hand towel. You can buy this really quickly and easily. Honestly, I have no idea what this does yet. I've not picked it up on my tailor. It's only 300 Stygia. You can pick it up straight away. No idea what this does. When I know, I'll let you know. But that's the Death's Advance. There's nothing too out of the ordinary there. Some catch-up gear options. The ability for your crafters to make some item level 200 gear to fill in any gaps or to throw on the auction house, make a bit of gold. And a couple of mounts and stuff that you'd expect. That's the default one. The Death's Advance is exactly as you would expect. Let's go talk about the more interesting of the factions though. The one that you are really going to grind out. There's a second faction. Yeah, 2 factions in one zone, right? There's this fella, the Archivist Rosor. And this is part of a faction called the Archivist Codex. This I am really looking forward to playing in a bunch of detail. I was grinding out the reputation I needed for this, and I very quickly stumbled across something that intrigued me. The amount of reputation you get by handing in these tokens. I suppose for reference I should explain the tokens. as and when you're running around Korthia, you're doing your world quests, you're picking up treasures and you're killing rares, you will find relics. Now these relics can be turned in to this guy, and in turn he will then give you another currency. Yes, a currency on top of a currency. There is method to the madness though. So any relics you find, you can turn them in, and what it is basically doing is researching all of the lost artifacts within Korthia to help build up a greater understanding of how the zone works and eventually unlock new features and functionality. When you turn in the relics, you gain research points. Those research are called catalogue research. And catalogued research is, I guess you can consider it Stygia 2.0. This is the currency used for this separate faction that is unique to Korthia. This is really interesting. There is a subtle amount of time gating to this, although it does present itself as something that could be infinitely grinded out if you were dedicated enough to do it. But you get a couple of quests early on in your travels. You get a couple of quests, and each quest conveniently gives you just enough reputation so that by the time you've completed, I think, the 4 or 5 quests needed, you unlock tier 2. You can't buy anything until you're at least tier 2 with these guys, but it's at that point you can buy the research report, the all-seeing crystal, and this is what kind of gives you the illusion that you could just, in theory, just permanently grind this out. It allows you to see creatures who are carrying the relic fragments. Now, until you get this, the only way to get the relic fragments is by treasures around Korthia and killing rares. Now, of course, if you're killing rares, you can only kill them once a day, and the treasures, by my understanding at least so far, you can only loot each individual treasure once per day. So there is an element of time gating. I've worked it out to be about 2 days worth of collecting everything. So if you really go ham with this at the beginning, you could probably, chip away at this quite quickly. The questions are though, why do you want to be doing this? Well, there are some really cool funky stuff hidden behind this. When you hit rank 2, or tier 2, sorry, you have the ability to pick up these archivist keys. Now on your travels, when hunting for treasures, you'll have found some big treasure chests that you can't open. They're locked. You need keys for them. These are the keys you need to get. Within those keys, within those chests, there's even more special rewards. I won't spoil exactly what you get out of them, but the system unfolds quite nicely, giving you more and more stuff to do the further you delve deeper into this reputation. It's looking quite fun. Let's look at some of the stuff you can get though. We've already said at rank 2 you get the keys to open the chests. At tier 3 you get to unlock the teleporters. I'm working my way there. It's quite time intensive even on the PTR to get these. These will unlock some of the teleporters. Presumably when you go into the teleporter, as it says in the tooltip, access hidden vaults and remote locations, probably with some goodies for you to go and gather. And then when you hit tier 4, you can unlock the rifts. Now on your travels around Korthia, you'll see these big rifts that once again you can't do anything with until you're at least tier 4 and have the rift keys. Once we know exactly what they entail, I'll keep you updated. From a profession point of view, there's some cool stuff in this, right? This is the one reason why all your crafters are going to be wanting to at least your tailors, your blacksmiths, and your leatherworkers. The gear-based professions are going to be really interested in these guys. The Crafter's Mark of the Chained Isle, also commonly known as Crafter's Mark 4. If you've been keeping up with the channel, this was previously called the prestigious Crafter's Mark. The name and the functionality of it's changed a little bit, but this is really powerful. This is going to allow you to make gear that is item level 230. It's going to be really strong. The caveat is that you can only equip one piece of that gear, but from a crafter's point of view, there's nothing to stop you crafting all of it at item level 230 and giving people the option which of the pieces that they want to equip. This is going to be the go-to reason to grind out this faction for any crafters. It does mean, for me, I'm going to be running at least 3 characters through Korthia on a very, very frequent basis. grinding my way to this as fast as I can. Any of you guys that got on board with Crafters Mark II at the beginning of Shadowlands will know just how profitable that was for the first few people to get their hands on it. So if you get the ability to, you know, hit tier 4 relatively quickly, it's good. You're going to be in for a good time. To add to that, there's also the new transmute for alchemists. Once you hit tier 4 once again, stones to ore, that's the one. You can take some of the crappy porous stone and the shaded stone that's basically free on the auction house because miners have no use for it. And it's presumably going to be a daily cooldown, but will turn some real crappy ore into something more valuable, so your alchemists are going to want to be out here as well. If you haven't leveled up your alchemy to 60 yet, because you can basically do almost everything at level 51, now's the time to level up your alchemist. This is going to be very helpful. Let's look at some of the higher end stuff though. As and when you unlock greater tiers with these guys, some interesting things happen. It feels like a massive, absolutely never-ending grind at the beginning, but there is like multipliers to how much of these catalogued research you can acquire. This is why it's a currency traded for another currency system. It's because in the middle there's this multiplier. Once you unlock things like these research reports later down the lines, it will just speed up the amount of catalogued research you can collect. The more catalogued research, the more things off this list you can buy. And there is one other big use for this catalogued research, and it is the upgrades. We spoke about this earlier. The bits of gear that you pick up from either trading in some Stygia, or if you're lucky enough, some of it will drop from killing rares. Some of the rares even were dropping item level 207 gear for me. I'm going to see if I can find some. Here we go. A Vault Attendant's Cape. So straight from the mob, 207, bang, in your hands. When you go to upgrade this, just like you would do with Mythic Plus gear with Valor, say, for example, you can choose which level you want to upgrade it to. You can skip all the way to the end if you have enough, but you can see if you wanted to push it to max item level 233, it's going to take you 12,000 catalogued research to be able to do that. So as you can see, if you want to max out your gear through Korthia and you're not sort of like a high-end Mythic Plus or a high-end Raider, item level 233 is going to be more than reasonable. I believe that sits somewhere between normal and heroic raid gear. So going to be really, really good for your alts, especially if you don't have the ability to jump into the higher end game content. There is even ways to unlock this even further. Apparently, you can sort of see one of the rewards from this vendor fella. Which one is it? Which one is it? It's one of these. One of these. Probably this very last one. Yeah, allows you to upgrade your items from Korthia and the more to rank 13, and then finally all the way to rank 15. I think the tooltips are incorrect for these. I think it's meant to be like 5 and 6 or something. But one thing to note with these is even if you do grind out your reputation, you've also got to be keeping up with your renown. You can see you need renown 75 or higher to pick this up. So in some regards you can probably say there's not too much of a rush for these higher end things anyway. You're not going to be able to instantly pick up 233 gear simply because getting renown 75, the renown will almost certainly be the bottleneck for the first few weeks without question. The last two things I'll touch on though, which is going to be a big feature especially for the raiders out there, is the fact that you can upgrade your conduits all the way to 252 and you can add sockets to your Shadowlands Season 2 gear. Yeah, this is going to be a big one. This is where most raiders, I would imagine, will be dumping their catalogued research into getting those sockets and to getting their conduits up. Very similar to how it was in Season 1 for the Maw. Yeah, there's not much more to say about that. This is the reason why people are going to live in Korthia. Is it going to be alt-friendly? In my opinion, probably not. I've already got the incentive to be running this on multiple characters as efficiently as possible. We're going to be talking every rare, every treasure, every mini side quest as on a daily basis on at least 3 characters to be able to achieve what I want to achieve. Luckily, because I'm not an endgame raider myself personally, I will probably stop somewhere at or around tier 4, but getting to tier 4 is going to be relatively slow. I was able to, for reference, let's talk just timelines very quickly. I was able to get 1600 reputation into tier 2 in a couple of days worth of playing out here. It didn't take me all that long at all, but it is at this point where things are going to slow down pretty dramatically. Every time you find... do I want to... okay, there are mini quests that you pick up with this on your travels, and it's the mini quests that reward you like 500 reputation each. It's those mini quests that actually are the main source of reputation for this. When you turn in your fragments, you do get a very, very tiny amount of reputation. So tiny, in fact, that I would really hope that Blizzard do up it a little bit, because it kind of feels almost like it's not worth doing. But I guess that's for you guys to decide whether it's worthwhile running around grinding out this reputation or not. But there we go, boys and girls. That's a little bit of an overview for Korthia as it stands right now. I apologise there wasn't much footage of the zone itself, but it's the 2 new factions in Korthia that are really, really interesting to me. And it's appearing to be a really fun, cool little place. There's so many little caves and little nooks and crannies to explore. The Vault of the Secrets and the Rifts, and it's looking pretty good. I'm really glad to see that they've sort of expanded on it, and it's going to keep us occupied. That is for sure. But I'll leave it there, boys and girls. I'll let you go for today. If you enjoy this kind of content, remember to give the video a like. I put a lot of time and effort into testing these things for you so that you can get, in 20 minutes, a good overview of exactly what's going on without having to spend hours testing it yourself. So give the video a like if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you're new around here. Welcome back to my regulars. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.